Hello everybody and welcome back to Cat's Monthly Movies, a show in which I, Cat, discuss all of my favourite movies. Well, no, not necessarily all of just all of the movies I've seen in the month of whichever month this is. September? This was September, right?
And I'm some lady.
Oh, you sure do love that joke, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, I'm joined by QJ, my co-host. She is also here. She's actually surprisingly watched a decent amount of the films that I've seen this month, so there will actually be.
It's a lot more fun talking about them when I've seen them myself. And since you won't watch movies that I've suggested that I've already seen 100 times, you just watch all the movies in the cinema. I just have to go to the cinema.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe this month I did that. Maybe you don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know what I've done.
Ooh, what are we going to talk about?
So, because apparently Halloween is like 2 friggin' months now, it's just stupid. A bunch of horror movies came out.
Woohoo, Halloween!
And I watched a couple of them. No, Halloween's stupid. I hate it.
No.
So I started off the month by watching what I thought was going to be a horror movie, because it was labelled as a horror movie, but it was actually just a murder mystery, and that was a bit disappointing. I thought, because it's a movie called The Limehouse Golem, which is set in Victorian London, and it's it's about someone who's killing people, and the detective's like, I gotta find out who it is, and it's all mysterious, but it's actually really obvious who it is, because you know how in a murder mystery, if one character interacts with the person trying to work out who the murderer is more than any other character, it's more often than not them, you know?
Well, in a not good mystery, sure. I don't watch too many like mystery movies or read mystery novels. I've watched a lot of Monk and a lot of Psych. They're my favorite shows for a long time. And maybe I just never tried very hard at figuring out who the murderer was, but it always tricked me pretty good. Like there were always a lot of characters they interacted with, so you never knew which one could possibly be the killer, and I don't know. Yeah. So
in this one they tried to make it be like, it could have been one of these various people, and maybe if I wasn't so like genre savvy and I didn't, because basically I was just sitting there like, I know that from a narrative standpoint, this character who the detective is talking to all the time is a potential suspect, and they keep trying to make me think it's not them in a really obvious way. So I'm like, it's clearly them then, isn't it? You know. So I don't know, I guessed what was going on pretty quickly, and it was fine otherwise. It was a decent ride. It held my interest well enough to be an enjoyable movie. It just was a bit predictable. No, it wasn't. But, you know, I just think it was a bit underwhelming, because I was expecting it to be a horror movie, because I wanted to go into... I was really interested in the concept of a horror movie set in Victorian London, because I think that's a really cool idea. Because horror movies, to me, they're always set in, like, modern times, and it's really generic, and it's just, like, teenagers go into the woods and get spooked. The cops are chasing the killer. You're just, like, yawn. But, like, I don't know. A really cool, like, horror movie set in Victorian London or in a period time, that makes horror more interesting to me. I'm not huge into horror, but that would be really interesting to me. But they didn't. It was just a murder mystery. It kind of felt like a TV murder mystery. I'm not saying it was inherently bad. I think it was a well-made film, and I think
it's a little disappointing.
I don't know. I don't like saying maybe I'm too smart, but like maybe maybe I was just too smart. Maybe I just was like, because I was sitting there like I know it's this character that did they're the murderer. But like, because of how
some of us like movies that make us think, and don't want movies to just think for us, which is going to be a little thematic throughout this episode.
But like, I don't know, it was because I don't know, if I hadn't known like tropes of murder mystery, I think I wouldn't have predicted it as easily as I did. But it's because I was sitting there like, aha, this character's interacted with this. They're clearly putting this scene in order to make me think it's not this character. Yeah. I don't know. I'm too good at overanalyzing narrative tropes.
And I don't think that's being too smart. I think it's just part of it's a little common sense. Like, you've seen enough murder mysteries. Like, if this had been a really old movie and one of the first like murder mysteries that was written, like Sherlock Holmes status, although I haven't read any of Arthur Conan Doyle's stuff, so I don't know how obvious his stories are.
Yeah, true. So that was The Limehouse Golem. It was fine. It was just a bit underwhelming. It had some good performances. Bill Nighy's in it, and I like Bill Nighy. He's good.
No way, I didn't know he acted. What? Except in his
Not
TV
Bill
show.
Nighy. Oh my god. Oh, I hate that. Okay.
Bill Nighy, is that what you're saying?
Bill Nighy. It's spelled like Nighy or something.
Well, now who's disappointed?
I know. No, he's a good actor. I like him. He was in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He was Slutty Blotfast. trying to think of other places you'll know him from. He's just a good British actor. It doesn't get that much recognition, but he pops up every now and then, and I like him. He's a good lad. And the chick from Doctor Who was in it as well, but that's not as interesting.
Oh, that's really clear who you're talking about.
Well, you don't even watch Doctor Who, so even if I was like, oh, it's the chick who plays Clara in Doctor Who, you'd be like
companions.
But yeah, it was fine. It was a decent. It felt like a TV drama a little bit though, but that's just I think in genre because like period pieces and murder mysteries like that, I tend to find I associate more with TV than with film.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I think it's just because we get a lot of those. Anyway, that was that. It was an okay movie. Don't really want to linger on it. The next movie is another one I don't really want to linger on too much. It's a movie called American Made, which is about a guy who he's a really good pilot and he gets like pulled in by the CIA to like spy on criminals in the
war.
A time period where Americans wanted to spy on people. The
Cold War?
No, it's like down. He's going to spy on people in South America, and the government are trying to sponsor these people to overthrow another government. It's not Vietnam.
Well, I mean, you obviously didn't learn anything from this movie.
It's because it's not. I don't know American history, bro. That's another theme that I'm going to go into. I don't know American history. Whenever something's set in a period of American history, I kind of zone out because I'm like, I don't know much about this. This period, I was like, I don't know anything about this period of American history. I don't know what the hell's happening, but it was fun enough to keep me going because basically he's being paid. He's been given this fancy plane by the government to spy on people, and then he gets pulled in by the cartels. I think Mexican cartels, but I don't know, and I don't want to say that because I could be mixing them up with another cartel from South America, and then I seem racist or something. But yeah, he gets mixed up with, actually no, I think they were Colombian. He gets mixed up with Colombian drug lords, and then he's working for the CIA and the drug people, and he just gets like mixed up in all of this stuff, but he ends up making loads of money just like selling to different people, and he gets really rich. And it's a pretty fun story. It had pacing issues, like it was a little bit too slow at times. But when it got going, when it had a scene that was like, this is going, it was really good. It was kind of shot like a documentary almost, like a lot of kind of unsteady camera work and like as if they were following him around filming everything he did. And that was kind of fun.
Sounds like a good popcorn flick.
Yeah, it was alright for that. It was just like sit down, turn brain off. Yeah. The one thing that I did get out of this movie though is okay, so when I've watched Tom Cruise movies, it's Tom Cruise. I've watched Tom Cruise movies prior to this, and I always forget because they cleverly shoot him slightly from the side, but I always forget that Tom Cruise has one tooth directly in the center of his mouth. I don't know if you know about this, but I'm gonna ruin Tom Cruise for you right now. Tom Cruise has one tooth directly, like you know how everyone has like the two front teeth.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Yes, one of his front teeth, all of his teeth are off center slightly.
Okay, so it's not like he's missing a tooth; they're all just like kind of like.
Yeah, so like one of them is in the dead center of his face, like one of the two front teeth. And if you shoot Tom Cruise cleverly, so he's always slightly from the side, you can't see the center tooth. But this film often shot him dead on, so it was so distracting. Just like every time Tom Cruise is shot from like head on, I'm just sitting there like center tooth. It's in the center. It's really driving me insane. And you can't unsee it. Once you've seen it, you cannot unsee Tom Cruise's weird central tooth. And I just Google it. Everyone listening to this right now, Google Tom Cruise center tooth. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's friggin' weird. I don't like it.
I haven't seen that many Tom Cruise movies.
No, when I watched The Mummy, which he starred in, I didn't notice it as much. Like, I knew that it was a thing before that, but I didn't notice it during The Mummy, I guess because they shot him from the side cleverly. In this film, nope. Just Tom Cruise's weird tooth. But, you know, I just can't get it out of my head now. I just can't stop thinking about Tom Cruise's weird tooth situation. How did he end up like that?
Come back.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that was American Made. It was fine. It was an okay movie, like, for a dumb movie about... And apparently it's loosely based on true story, but I don't know if that's, like, them being full of lies and just putting that in there for the gag, or if it actually is. I have no idea.
I mean, if you base anything off of history, you could say it's loosely based off a true story, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't actually know how true it was. I didn't bother Googling it, because I didn't really care that much. The next movie I watched was a sequel. It was the sequel to Kingsman, Kingsman: The Golden Circle. It was really good, I thought. A lot of people are hating on Kingsman 2. They're like,
Oh.
it's just edgy for the sake of being edgy. Oh, blah blah blah. And I think Kingsman 1 is a perfect film. It has like it's perfect. It's excellent. Love it.
I tried to rent it, but the Red Box doesn't have it anymore.
Oh, rip. Kingsman 2, it has a far weaker plot. It has way less meaning to it. Like, the first one kind of has a lot of meaning woven throughout the story. It has, like, it kind of has points that it makes about different things, about, like, overpopulation, about kind of, like, the greater good and all that kind of stuff. And about, like, you know, what your upbringing does for you. Because basically the whole point of Kingsman 1 is the character is this kind of chav on the streets who gets brought in to be a spy, and the whole time he's like, I was born into nothing, so I have nothing. I can't be one of those top posh boy spies. But then he is, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're born into. It's what you achieve. And it was really cool. Second one, on the other hand, kind of, because it does that sequel thing where it's like, we've started our characters at the top of their kind of arc. So where do we go from there? And where it goes is a plot line that's kind of like, it's fun enough to string things together, but it's not very interesting. It's just kind of like a weak plot a little bit. But the thing is, the action and the shots and the way it's directed, and it's just beautiful. So it doesn't matter. Like, I loved it as a kind of just a goof, fangirl. Yeah, but I loved it as like it's just a fun. Like, in the same way I enjoy Marvel Cinematic Universes movies, right? A lot of them don't have an intensely good plot. They're just fun to look at. And the way Matthew Vaughn directs action in both Kingsman movies is phenomenal. It's incredible to look at. Like, all of the shots in all of the action scenes in Kingsman: The Golden Circle are just brilliant. They look amazing. They're just fantastic. They're some of the best shot action in anything ever. So it doesn't matter that the plot's a bit weak. And you know, it was goofy and it was funny. It made me laugh. It made me smile during the fight scenes, and I love that.
Yay.
So it was fine that the story was a bit meh. It was fine that they did this weird interlude where there was a whole scene based around whether or not he could finger a girl that was a bit awkward, and you know, everyone's complaining about it because they're like, oh, it's sexist. And it's like, maybe, but does it matter?
Not if she enjoys it. I mean,
classic.
That's good that the fight scenes made you smile, because I think when a fight scene can make someone smile rather than cringe or be like, ugh, when is this over, then it's like a well-shot scene. Oh
yeah, they were so well shot. Like the final fight at the end is like, oh my god, it's so good. It's fantastic, and I loved it. The only other problem I had with this film is there wasn't enough Channing Tatum in it, which is... It's something that people are majorly complaining about, because basically all of the trailers and the posters and all this stuff made it look like Channing Tatum was going to be in this film way more than he is. So when he just kind of gets written out,
Kingsman, isn't he?
Well, it feels like he just kind of got written out because they had like 20 minutes worth of. They were like, we've got Channing Tatum for like a month. Let's shoot everything we can with him, and then he'll go, and we'll never see him again. And so you get this thing where he's in the start, and then he just kind of gets written out of the movie and replaced with another character who just basically could have just been Channing Tatum's character. And it feels weird, and it's like, why did they just... Okay, I guess they only had 2 weeks with Channing, that's fine.
That's kind of an issue.
Yeah, it was like, I wanted more Channing. The other guy was fine, but I just wanted more Channing. But that's fine. I love me some Channing. You'll see later with 2 films that I watched that have a lot of Channing in them. The next film that I watched was a movie that you've seen. It was a book adaptation. It was a Stephen King book adaptation. It was incredibly... Okay, I'm talking about it. What? Did you just say Pet Cemetery?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, why don't you learn to read?
No, but is that a thing that got adapted to a film?
Almost all of his books get adapted to films because he's like
classic.
That big.
Anyway, I'm not here to talk about Pet Cemetery. I'm here to talk about it. A film that... Oh my god. That was high pitched.
You told me to turn my mic volume up.
It's a film that was incredibly good in every single element, but then it
But then you're wrong.
Itself. No, I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
okay.
you are. We talked about this a little bit beforehand, so we're gonna argue.
So we know each other's opinions. Yeah. Okay, hear me out right now. I need to get my point across. Okay,
let's talk about the negatives so that we can end on the positives and.
I know. I was going to talk about. My point relies on me talking about the positives first, though. Oh. The film is incredible. It's incredibly well written. It has great character development. Has great performances from the kids, and it has great creepy and atmospheric subtle horror.
Yes.
But what it does is it then squanders everything that it did with its clever subtle horror by doing scenes like Eddie gets chased down the street by what is basically just a zombie and it isn't scary at all.
Leper.
Or, yeah, but like, he was basically just a zombie. The makeup department did a bad job on that. It just looked like a zombie until later in the film he said it was a leper and you're like, oh, that was supposed to be a leper. Okay, basically they did a bad job conveying... Because I think they could have done a way better job conveying his fear of disease with it not just looking like a zombie.
Glad that you caught that.
I think they could have had, because the spoilers for it, like, I feel like this whole conversation is going to be riddled with spoilers. I'm just going to put a spoiler warning here anyway. They could have easily said, because the line where he drops the pill and the leper picks it up and is like, will this make me better? That was a really good line, but then it's just like shambling zombie comes after him. So I would have had it just be like a normal dude in a suit with like a big gash down his face that's like festering and infected. He picks up the pill and he's like, will this make me better? And Eddie's like, oh no, you've got a diseased face. And like starts backing off and the guy's like chasing him, but he looks like a normal guy. Because then it's not just a generic horror monster. It's like, this kid isn't scared of a generic horror monster. This kid is scared of disease. So it's like, the disease is what's scaring him and it's on a normal human being, but it's still scary.
I think Pennywise's whole like goal though is to become monsters to like scare kids into...
Is it though? Because when... Is it though? Because when he's scaring Billy, he's using the psychological fear of loss by becoming Georgie, isn't he? Ha ha ha, got you. Pennywise is clearly smart enough to manipulate that psychological fear.
That's not what scares Billy though, that's just what lures him into a trap. Because that doesn't make Billy run away. It lures him into where he's about to get ripped apart.
But then what's he scared of? Pennywise doesn't then turn into something he's scared of. He's just a clown still.
I don't think Billy has any fears. I think he's kind of like Beverly near the end where he's just not afraid. So Pennywise has to use a different tactic to try and lure him into the death trap because losing his brother made him kind of emotionless.
I would argue that the way I interpreted that whole thing was that he had a fear of loss because he says the thing that scares him most is going home to the house where Georgie isn't, right? He specifically says that at one point in the film. So I'd say that the fear that Pennywise is trying to use... It's easier to go into the haunted house than to go into his own house. I don't know about being scared of him. Yeah, I'd say that the fear that Pennywise is trying to use on Billy is the fear of loss. He's trying to manipulate him through that fear. That's what I'd say.
I mean, it's definitely not a bad idea. It's very clever.
I just think that's where they were trying to go with that. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make with them squandering the clever, well done horror is best articulated with the projector scene, where, and I know this scene ain't in the book because in the book it's not a projector, it's like photo album, is it not?
I read that
somewhere. Okay, well I read that because isn't the book set in like the 50s?
Yeah, but so is the movie.
The movie's set in the 80s. What are you talking about?
50s. Because when was it written? Shoot.
I'm 99% sure that the book is set in the 50s and the film is set in the 80s. Because I remember reading somewhere that they pushed it back.
You might be right.
So I know that the Pennywise coming out of the projector thing ain't from the book, right? I know that they haven't just directly taken that. Unless I'm wrong and I read it wrong. I don't know, maybe I read something online.
It's starting to ring a bell.
Yeah. But, so I think, okay, the projector scene is incredibly cleverly done. The way the mum slowly turns into Pennywise, it's like, oh, Pennywise is creepily spooking us. He's gonna get us. Oh no. And then he just kind of comes out the projector and it's just like a jump scare where Pennywise suddenly comes out the projector and flails around and the cameras...
I didn't think that was a jump scare at all, and I didn't have any problem with that scene.
I actually think it's shot like generic horror. It's just like, look, there's a big thing in your face. How scary. And I'm like, no. Do the creepy thing. Do the creepy atmosphere thing that you were doing. I didn't expect Pennywise to actually
be there. I thought he was trying to be in the photos to be all creepy, and then I thought the lights were going to go out and they were all going to be like, what are we doing? Pennywise is taking over our lives. But then he was just there. Because his goal is not to just, like, spook the children. It's to actually murder them. And
yeah.
I don't know. When he came out of the wall, I wasn't expecting it. And I don't know. I totally disagree. See, I think there were so few jump scares in that movie And I know you say there were a lot of scare chords, which there absolutely were, and they were
So many,
really
too many
annoying
scare
because it
chords.
was like,
Yep.
and I was like, something's gonna make me jump, and then nothing did, and I was like, well, that was a waste of the violin or whatever you used to make that chord.
Yeah.
And I felt like everything that was scary was not there to scare the audience. It was there to scare the kids. And you were supposed to put yourself in the kids' place and be like, oh, this is very scary for these children. And it's really creepy to look at. You had like Bloody Eddie coming out of the mattress in the haunted house being like, wah! And like all this other stuff. And it was like really anxious because you didn't know which kid was real and which kid was just Pennywise trying to trick them. And like, it was a very anxious situation. And I loved experiencing it. And I didn't feel scared for most of it. I mean, part of it I did because I'm a wimp and because I was afraid of jump scares coming at me. So a lot of the movie, I had like my hat pulled down over half my eyes and I'm like, nothing jump out at me. But then by the end of the movie, I was like, okay, I could watch this again because I know there's few things are going to jump out at me, except like you mentioned that one scene where Bev attacked
the one scene that was incredibly well done horror.
Yeah, I watched that with Shay and he leaned over to me and he's like, that was really good. Absolutely, because there was no music leading up to it. He was just there.
Yeah, you thought everything was over. You thought it was done with. You thought that she dealt with the main threat, and then boom, Pennywise, 10 out of 10. Loved it. That was really well done because it was really good use of subverting horror expectations in order to build up a good fearful moment. But I just think that a lot of it was very good build up, and then they squandered the build up. I think in the projector scene, what they should have done is had his face show up and then the projector cuts out, it's completely black in the room, or it has a shot taken from over a drain and you just hear a whisper of Pennywise just saying something threatening like
you'll float too.
Like because the whole idea there, I thought, with that scene was that they were investigating him, they were looking into him, they were trying to work out where he is, and they were looking at the maps and that, and then he shows up like, nah, you don't come for me, I come for you, right?
So I think that's exactly what happened.
I just think it squandered it.
You just didn't like him coming out of the wall.
Then it just is bad horror. It wasn't scary. It was just goofy and dumb. And like I get.
I think if I had been one of those kids, it would have been absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, but as a film, you're structuring the film for the audience, right? I get you. I kind of get your point.
In bad horror, you are structuring it for the audience, and I think that's bad. I think you're supposed to structure it for the characters so that you can put yourself in the character's place and understand what they're going through.
I'm a counterpoint you on the whole, I think horror movies should be scary for the characters, not the audience thing, and I'm going to counterpoint you, recontextualize that argument and put it in the context of comedy, and imagine I'm arguing this comedy wasn't supposed to make the audience laugh, it was supposed to make the characters laugh. It doesn't matter that you didn't find those jokes funny, it just matters that the characters found the jokes funny.
I don't think it's the same principle for a different genre.
I think it's the same principle. You're making a film for the audience. That's the end goal of your film, is to make the film for the audience.
But the film is for the audience, and the film is very, very good, but I don't think you're supposed to necessarily have to scare the audience. It's about these kids that are being chased and being like attempted to be murdered, and you're watching their story. Like, the story is for you, not necessarily all the jump scares and all the monsters. Because what I enjoyed most about it is going through this adventure with these kids and loving their characters and their performances and all the like psychological torment they're going through. Mm-hmm. You got like, I was about to say like Ben is struggling with like being fat and like, but they didn't put that in very much. And you got Mike struggling with being like the homeschooled black kid that everyone hates.
Oh, that arc was incredibly well done. I'm just going to that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like the way they didn't ham-fist the racism arc, it was just there. They didn't just straight up say, this kid's black and everyone hates him. The characters just acted that way. Yeah. And you kind of got the vibe from it, but if you didn't really know much about, like if you were like a 10-year-old and you didn't know anything about American history, you'd be like, why does everyone act weird around this kid?
Yeah.
But as someone who knows about the history of racism and stuff, then no one said, we hate you because you're black. Everyone just... Like the bully kid just hated him.
And you know that the reason he's homeschooled is because if he went to a public school, he'd probably be killed.
Yep, and you know that his parents' house got burnt down. No one says it's because they were black. They just that happened. And it was really well done. It was subtle. It was clever.
And he's
I really
a fantastic
liked that.
character. His banter is my favorite thing about this movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
Constantly like, oh, you should never go in this water because there's so many diseases, and you should never go in the water because there's so many household accidents.
The dialogue was friggin' excellent.
He's such a good little actor. And then you realize that he's like this because his mom is a freaking hypochondriac and gives him gazebos as pills.
I loved it. Yeah.
And
I thought every character had really good purpose, and they were all really well written.
Like,
apart from the Jewish kid who had no point. What's the point in the Jewish kid? He was just there.
Who?
Exactly. The Jewish kid who was scared of the painting. I don't know why he was there. There was no purpose to his character.
Stan?
Stan, yeah.
Yeah, so, I can't, I don't want to spoil chapter 2 for you.
Okay, don't spoil chapter 2
gave
for
him,
if he's important for,
if he's important for chapter
2, that's fine.
In this chapter.
Okay, that's cool.
He was, like, an overly cautious character, and he, like, I feel like he never wanted to be a part of the action, and he was just kind of there because they were his friends, and he sort of represented, like, almost the one that had no courage in the group.
Okay.
I feel like Richie didn't have enough of a backstory. He was, like, constantly hiding all his fears under humor, which I suppose was ironic because he said the thing that scared him the most was clowns. I don't remember knowing that much about his family, but he was still one of my favorite characters because he made me laugh, and he's in Stranger Things, and he's amazing.
He's a great character, and he was really well. That was excellent. I don't know. I just have a problem with the way it delivered its horror. I think the way it was directed, the way it just had so many shots of like things that are close to the camera, and I'm like, because they were clearly doing that for a reason. They're clearly doing the Pennywise runs at the camera in a jiggly way. Like, at the end of the scene where Billy goes down to the basement and Georgie's there, and then like Pennywise slowly comes out of the water, and they're like, "You'll float too. Yeah. You'll float too." And that's a really well done scene. It's really creepy. It had me on the edge of my seat. And then Pennywise just runs at the camera real fast, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess you'd ruin the scene. Thanks." It's like,
I don't know what else you expect. Like, you don't want nothing scary to happen. You just want the kids to be slightly creeped out and then, like, murdered in a very non-scary way.
I just want the climax of the scene to be directed
I feel
better.
like you don't want this to be a horror movie. Like,
no, I want it to be a horror movie. I want it to be, because it did the creepy, subtle horror so well. When the bully guy is like about to kill his dad, and you can just hear the TV in the background, and it's saying like
the scariest character in the book.
Hell yeah.
Because he's like kind of sociopathic, which you don't really get in the movie, but in the book there's a scene where his parents have a new baby, and he hates this baby because it's getting all the attention, and he just kills it. He just goes into the crib, and the baby's asleep on its stomach, which you're not supposed to do because babies might turn their heads and suffocate against the mattress, and that's what he does. He just turns his little brother's head and suffocates him. And then, baby's out of the way. And I'm like, holy crap, this kid's so much scarier than Pennywise.
But yeah, anyway, when the TV was like, kill him, that was subtle, it was cleverly done. It was well conceived, and it was scary, it was chilling. But I don't know, I would have been fine with Pennywise runs towards the camera if it wasn't done in such a weird, stupid way, because he does that weird jiggle run where they've clearly CGI'd it, but they've CGI'd it poorly, and it's like, why did you do this?
He's Pennywise the dancing clown.
It's just the way it was delivered. It was just, it looked bad. It just looked bad, and then I was just like, well, you've ruined it. You squandered it.
I don't think it was ruined. I loved that they tried to like strike fear into Beverly with that stupid jig that he did by being like, oh, I'm just a silly clown. I'm just here to dance and give you cotton candy, but I also have scary teeth and I'm going to rip your face off. But like, just pay attention to the dancing as if I'm a precious little clown.
That as a concept is it makes sense, right?
I love using silly humor to try and portray like terrifying images. I think
the fact that it was really badly done CGI though ruined it. If you don't have the CGI budget, there is no way you did not see in that scene where he dances near the end. His face is CGI'd onto the body, but it's done really badly.
I don't know. I was watching his legs.
It's just like
that was real. I mean, he was doing that dance in real life.
Yeah, but like there are so many shots where his head seems CGI'd onto the body for some reason.
Maybe it's just
Anytime
floating.
he's moving, it was just weird, and it just looked uncomfortable. Like, don't write that in if you don't have the facility to CGI it properly. Also, why couldn't they just have him dance without CGIing his head on? Why couldn't his head just be the head that? Why?
I don't know. I didn't see his head.
It just looked dumb, and I didn't like it.
That one guy didn't have a head with Ben in the library. That was scary.
Yeah, that was a good scene because that was like
all the scenes that focus on the kids as a whole or individually are wonderful.
Yeah,
because they're character scenes, and that's what like horror movies don't have enough of. They're all just like, here's monsters, we're gonna kill you while you're having sex in a forest, or blah blah blah, and let's scare the audience a bit, and then everyone's gonna die or get away. But you don't have any character depth or any like reason for wanting these characters to survive. And it is absolutely fantastic with that. And I feel like every piece of praise I'm giving this movie all comes from Stephen King. Because every time I'm like, I like this or that, I'm like, that's how he wrote it in the book. So I think the biggest piece of praise I can give this movie is that it's extremely well adapted. One of the best book adaptations I've ever seen. Definitely the best Stephen King adaptation I've seen. It hurts me to say it was probably better adapted than Shawshank, which might not be true because Shawshank was only like 90 pages, and if you make a 2.5-hour movie out of that, you're gonna do it fabulously. But it was like 1,200 pages, and they were able to include a lot of really, really important grit. Although they cut out half the book because half the book is their adult lives, and that's gonna be chapter 2 of the movie. So it was the best horror movie I've ever seen because it was a real movie and it wasn't just here's a bunch of scares. Like they added the scares, but it was also a film about people that you cared about, and they did that very, very well. And
I'm with you on that. I just think the directing and delivery on a lot of the I don't know, for another example, the concept of Bev being scared of the blood coming out the sink because she's on her period, very well done, right?
Yeah,
that was a good connecting fear. But I just think it spraying out ridiculously,
that was too much.
It. Yeah, I just think, why didn't it just slowly rise? And
it was supposed to be a bubble that kind of just splattered on her face and like a little bit on the walls.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why they chose to do it that way.
I think that kind of ruined the scene. If you wanted that much blood, I would have had it slowly rise up and fill the sink and then overflow. And then you have it all flowing downwards.
You have a lot of your own ideas for these movies.
That's spookier. That's scarier to me.
Mm-hmm.
I just think
like
that it could be improved.
That was a way for Pennywise to touch on her fears without being a monster. It's just like, here I am, like, you're becoming a woman and your dad's gonna hate you because he just wants you to be his little girl. And they were really careful with that, by the way. They were, with the way she looked at him and the way he looked at her, you could easily tell, he abuses her.
Yeah.
And he didn't touch her once.
Yeah, they were subtle. They didn't ham-fist it. That I massively respect about this film. A lot of those themes were very subtle and well done, and it was brilliant. And I just it's just why the very unsubtle things of Pennywise runs at the camera in a dumb way just kind of like felt off to me, because it's like everything else in this film is really subtle and cleverly done and cleverly woven in, and then then he comes out the projector and he's big and scary. Oh boy. And I'm like, you were doing so well. You know?
I feel like the feeling I get with movies is the more you like a movie for certain reasons, the more you will like nitpick the negative things.
Maybe.
It's almost like you're like really angry that they made such a good movie and had a few things that you disliked, which I respect, I guess. I love that they kept in scenes like when they cleaned all the blood out of the bathroom. Like it was very personable. It kept them like having their little teamwork together. I feel like that's the kind of stuff that a lot of directors wouldn't include, because they're like, who cares about kids cleaning a bathroom? That's not important. Or I don't know, Ben writing the little poem to her on the postcard.
Yeah, that was cute. One thing that was super dumb about it, and I don't know if it happens in the book, but near the end of the film, they work out, we've got to stick together, and then he can't get us if we all stick together, and they explicitly say that. And then one by one, they all walk off. When they're in the sewers, they just keep walking off individually, and it's like, didn't we establish about 20 minutes ago
that was a big complaint
that we don't
Shay
split
had.
up?
It's like, and I think it was I think it was like their fears getting the better of them. Then again, if I was afraid, I wouldn't go walking off on my own.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either.
It was probably like them saying like we have to stick together or ... and then when they did walk off, it was like proof that they were right. Like
yeah.
I had a problem with the fact that Stan like went off on his own in the sewers and they found him with his like face being eaten off by the creepy painting lady. And then he just lifts up and he has like a blood ring around his face, but he didn't get eaten. I'm like, shouldn't he have gotten killed right there? He was by himself. He wasn't protected by his friends. And like, they didn't kill him. They like that should have killed him off, but it was kind of like, what do you call it? Character armor?
Yeah, plot armor.
So that was that was a little annoying. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie, and I want to watch it again, and I'm gonna buy it, and it's gonna be one of the only horror movies I own, because one of the only horror movies that's well done. And I say that having not watched very many horror movies in my life, because every time I see a trailer for them, I'm like, that looks like trash.
Yeah. Have you seen the original Saw?
Yes, that's the only other horror movie I own.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah, the original Saw is actually quite good.
Yeah, it's a very good film.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that's...
Others are...
Yeah. You should watch Get Out. You'd probably like Get Out. It's clever. It works around stuff.
Other ones are Scream and Cabin in the Woods, which are kind of parodies on horror and are a little more like mysteries. At least Scream is, but they're really good movies, even if they're like kind of like side horror genre. Anyway, you talked about Get Out.
Horror is a genre that I don't really dabble in much either, but that's fine.
Well, it's because it's better
another
to
movie
focus on
that was
the characters than the
another
screens.
movie that was labeled as horror for some reason. Mother. Why was Mother labeled as a horror movie?
Because it made you incredibly uneasy the entire time. And okay, so this is why I thought it was labeled that way. You remember the game? Was it called Home Again? Gone Home? That point and click walkthrough. I said that I watched and didn't play?
I think so, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Vaguely.
Okay, then I guess you didn't play it, but it like the entire time you're playing it, you think it's a horror movie because there's all this spooky crap that this person is finding in their house when they come home. Yeah. And like really creepy music.
Okay, I do.
And every time you turn a corner, you're like, what's gonna be there? Ah! And then at the end, you're like, oh, nothing supernatural happened. Like her sister just ran away from home with her new girlfriend, and like,
I remember
all the seance stuff that they were doing, trying to like raise ghosts, was just like silly teenage games. And so you're like, that wasn't like a horror movie at all. There were no scares. And I think that's kind of like that. Mother reminded me of that, because the whole time you're like really uneasy, really on the edge of your seat. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And then by the end, it was definitely very creepy and disturbing and weird, but it wasn't horror. I think it was labeled as such because it was kind of trying to trick you.
Maybe, yeah. So anyway, with Mother, I guess spoilers for this movie, if anyone cares. It's getting bad reviews, so I don't think anyone does care.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
It's Genesis reimagined, that's what it is.
I was sitting there the whole time like, I think Mother's kind of a mess. I think it's a kind of a messy movie. It's structured poorly. It has really, the first two acts are like the most boring. It's just like nothing is happening, and I don't care about the things that are happening so badly that by the time like the third act comes around and you're like, oh, actually something finally interesting is going on, I'm like, but I don't care. I'm not invested. You lost me. There was so many because I was sitting there thinking when I was watching it, it kind of has the same thing as 2001: A Space Odyssey. When I was watching it, I was like, I hate this. This is garbage. Mm-hmm. But when I thought about it later, I was like, actually, I can see where they were going. Yeah. The thing is, with 2001: A Space Odyssey, I was like, I can see where what this is doing, and I liked it. I kind of love that movie now because I'm like, okay, having thought about it, I love it. With Mother, it's like, it went from me hating it while I watched it to just being like, I don't hate it, but I don't really like it either. Yeah,
like, I feel similarly, only like to kind of a higher degree, whereas I was enjoying it while I was watching it, and then by the end, I was like, oh, I get all the connections, I'm so excited! And maybe that's not a praise to be given to the film, I don't know, the fact that I just get really excited when I understand like symbolism. Because like I mentioned to you before, I felt like I was in like an English class, like reading a really complicated like snooty book where the author was like, I'm gonna make all these symbolism connections, and then you have to discuss it with your class, and you're like, oh, I get it. These characters were Cain and Abel, and they were Adam and Eve, and this was representing like this and that, and like, oh, that's so cool that the author did that. But I don't know, that really excited me, and I thought that was cool, and I thought it was clever storytelling, and it was definitely different. Like, I don't think people ever write movies like that, and I thought it was daring that the writer
I
decided
respect
to
it
do
for
that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why even if it, like, I don't even really want to watch it again, except maybe to like catch things that I didn't catch at first. Like, I don't even really love it as a film. I just kind of appreciate what it did as far as storytelling and being like, oh, I'm gonna take the book of Genesis and treat it, as fiction, as it were, and be like, what if God had a wife, and what if that wife was Mother Earth, and she actually gave birth to Jesus, and this all took place in this little isolated house, and you don't know what time period it's in or where they are, and you don't know why all this stuff is happening until the very end, and it all comes together, and it's exciting, and I totally get that you like don't relate to the characters or care what's happening to them, but like, I thought Jennifer Lawrence did such a good job, like, being this lonely, terrified person, that I was able to very much put myself in her shoes, and like, I was getting like kind of anxiety every time people were coming into the house and sitting on her stuff and eating her food, and I was like the introvert in me was like, get out, I don't like you. So
I feel like I was just sitting there the whole time, like she did a good performance, but it was a performance of just like two emotions, like cold and distant and stressed, and that was about it. That was
that's true.
The whole
except for the two times that she like screamed at people and actually like was brave for a second. That was cool. But I get what you're saying.
So the lack of contrast, I feel like I needed to know that character and have a reason to care about their stress for the stress to matter to me. You know what I mean?
It was hard to tell if they just kind of left her flat because they were lazy, or if she was supposed to be a flat character because it was easier for him to like manipulate her, and like the only reason he had her around was like her only purpose was to love him unconditionally, so that he could do whatever he wanted.
Yeah, and I really like a lot of the symbolism. I think it was actually quite clever, like the Cain and Abel thing. I think I was like, oh wait, that was what that was, because I don't know the Bible that well, so I'm like, and then like the build up to the Jesus thing, I thought was like that whole third act Jesus thing was really, really well done. It was well done, like the way that the house kept shifting into like what seemed like different time periods, like it became like a war zone at one point, and Kristen Wiig was shooting people in the head, and you're like, wow, and that was like really good, because like it was almost like religious wars at that point, like
like maybe it was like Revelations, or
wait, is it Kristen Wiig?
What?
Oh,
what happened?
The chick who's in what is she in? She's in Anchorman.
Kristen Wiig.
Is it Kristen Wiig? Okay, I thought I was mixing them up. Okay.
She's in Anchorman 2, rather.
Okay.
No,
her character,
wonderful.
who was clearly like a religious preacher, like who was clearly like trying to push the Bible and be like, whatever, and then she ends up just shooting people in the head because they're, I guess, not conforming to what that was really good. Like, you didn't know what the hell was going on there.
Or maybe they are being murdered because they just believe too much and they're not protecting themselves from like life. And like maybe it was like Revelations, or maybe it was like representing like wars on Earth that go on, like no matter like how much you pray and believe, like crap is gonna go on in the world and people are gonna die, and you can ask God to save you by putting his thumb in ink and across your forehead like Simba, and in that way, like I was wondering at the time, like, is he supposed to be Jesus because Jesus healed people when he was on Earth, or is he supposed to be like just this evangelistic TV preacher where he's like, I have the power of God and I can heal people by touching them and blah blah. And like that seemed to make more sense because you have Kristen Wiig over there practically being like his manager, which was like, it was all very bizarre and all very, very interesting and all very, very weird. And I loved that I didn't get a lot of it until the end. I had my guesses, I had my suspicions, but it wasn't until they ate pieces of baby Jesus, and then he was like, we have to forgive them, that I was like, oh snap, crucifixion status. And then she just like destroyed the house with her rage, and I was wondering if there was supposed to be some sort of connection between her body and the house, which is what made me think she was kind of Mother Earth, because she said she built this from wall to wall, and it wasn't enough for him, which is, again, goes back to the first chapter of the Bible when he created the heavens of the earth, but he's like, this isn't enough, I gotta put people on the world. And you get Adam and Eve, and they come in, and he's like, don't go to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and eat the fruit, and then they do it anyway, and they break his little glass thing, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. And then they're just making out with each other all the time because they're the only people in the world, and they're naked, and they're just like, let's make people. And then Cain,
I didn't even think of that as the forbidden garden or whatever.
No? Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, I didn't get that part. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. Forbidden fruit, and of course it's like her heart at the end, which is if she's Mother Earth, makes sense because fruit comes out of the ground, and they're just making all these connections that I don't even know if the writer was making, but I like thinking about all this, and
okay. Yeah, the more I connect things, the more I'm like, okay, that was well done.
It's almost like it's more fun to talk about than it is to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of like a lot of books you read in English classes. You're like, it's fun to have discussions about it, but I don't want to read through the freaking Iliad because it's, it's a 1500 epic.
Yeah.
Let's just, talk about it because it's cool.
Yeah. There are still things that I don't get, and I'm just like, wait, what was the point? Like the hole in the floor that they kept focusing on.
Yeah, I feel like he probably had an idea for that, but it didn't come across clearly enough.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe it was just her falling apart. I keep trying to connect the house to her. Because every time, because it seemed to be falling apart the more pregnant she got, and like her body was freaking out. But I don't know if that's accurate.
The way I kind of saw it, and I could be completely wrong on this, is I figured that the house was Earth itself, and she was like Mother Earth, like she was the spirit that kept it going.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like she was like nature, the concept of nature.
Yeah.
And the house itself was just the planet that she'd built up things on.
Right.
That's kind of what I was getting. I don't know. I could be completely wrong because I don't know Bible stuff.
Yeah. Well,
like it might have been a Bible thing.
I don't know. There's no Mother Earth in the Bible.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things that made the movie very human. Like, and I think it was probably trying to make the audience not think too much about symbolism until the very end, because she kept freaking out about the sink not being braced or the walls being painted, or like they had like a lot of moments where she's like, my husband won't sleep with me for whatever reason, and that doesn't really seem like a very God thing to like not be able to like sleep with his wife, because that's just not, that connection isn't there. So it's it's a very, very interesting movie.
Yeah, I just think that as a 2-hour movie, it lost my interest pretty quickly, and then didn't pick it up again. I was just like, I'm so bored. But yeah, Mother. People hated it.
Mother.
I didn't really like it, but I respect it. I respect what it was going for. You know?
And I feel like a lot of
the symbolism.
people
I respect.
Didn't. The lady who walked out of the movie in front of me, she just turned to her husband. She was like, "That was stupid." And I'm like, I'm sorry that not all your movies can be this cookie cutter, boring mash rom-com garbage that don't make you think at all, and you just want all your movies to be exactly the same, and just boring people, and want all their boring movies to be the same. Stupid.
Yeah.
I heard that Jennifer Lawrence was hyperventilating so hard during one scene that I think was when one of the boys was being killed, that she like cracked a rib, and
Jesus.
Then the scene was over, and the director was like, we have to do that scene again because it was blurry and out of focus, and she told him very ungently to go make love to himself. So that scene ended up being very blurry, and I actually noticed it.
I didn't see that, but that's a cool little tidbit.
Yeah.
So moving swiftly on, because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh, I know that we've got two movies that you're going to want to talk about for a while.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to quickly, briefly here's some more Channing news.
Yay!
I got 3 Channing movies about to go off right now.
Oh.
The first 2 of them.
I'm excited.
The first 2 of them are these were the 2 with a lot of Channing, right? This was a significant amount of Channing. Magic Mike and Magic Mike XXL. I watched these movies because I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Does he get really fat in the sequel?
No, there's just more of him, I suppose.
Why?
I actually quite liked Magic Mike and Magic Mike XXL. I'm just going to call it Magic Mike 2 because it's just dumb not to. Magic Mike, the first one, is... I actually think it kind of works, but that's fine. I think it's better than just calling it 2, but it's annoying in conversation to call it that. You know? It looks good on a poster, but it doesn't work conversationally.
It doesn't make any sense. He's not fat. If they want to just call it Magic Mike X, as in like it's rated X for all the sexy stuff, then that would... Anyway, talk about the movies.
Magic Mike, the first one, was actually surprisingly enjoyable as a story. I genuinely enjoyed watching, because the whole thing is like Mike is this guy who doesn't really want to be stripping, but he does it because it's an easy way of getting money and it's a fun lifestyle and he just kind of enjoys it, but he really wants to be doing other things. Like he wants to make custom furniture and sell that, but because of his credit rating, he just can't, and he can't get loans from the bank to do it, and he wants to sort that out, but it's just easy to just keep stripping and saving money from that to try and get things going. And he introduces this dumb kid into the game, and the kid goes a bit mad and starts doing loads of drugs and trying to sell drugs. And Mike's like, oh, god damn it, why? Why are you screwing this up? But he promised to look after him, and he tries to. And it's just it's a decent amount of character depth, and there's male strippers in it, so it's enjoyable to watch for that regard. You know, it's nice. It's a nice little personal story, and I get to look at Channing Tatum dance, and he's a pretty hot man, so that's cool. The second one kind of ditches the personal story thing and goes more for like a light-hearted, fun road trip movie. And I actually enjoyed it more. I thought it worked well in its comedy. Really? It was nice and fun. It was very light-hearted. It was just kind of like a fun little road trip movie where a bunch of male strippers go on a road trip and just have hijinks, basically. Yeah.
Like eat gummy penises and play with dildos.
I actually don't know if at any point in either of the films they eat gummy penises and play with dildos. They probably do, but I don't remember that. But yeah, the second one is fun. It's enjoyable. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. I don't think either of them were amazing, but they were like, you know, they were just enjoyable to watch.
Did you know that he was a stripper before he was an actor?
Yes, because you told me that the other day.
Well, I don't know if you ever listen to anything I say, so...
I listen to everything you say. It's you that doesn't listen to anything I say.
That's true.
It's the other way around. So that was some Channing. I don't feel like I need to dwell too much on the Magic Mike movies on this show. The next movie that I watched had some Channing, but not enough Channing. There was only a little bit of Channing. Can you guess what film it was?
The Hateful Eight?
Yeah, I watched The Hateful Eight. 0 out of 10, not enough Channing.
What? No!
Terrible movie.
1 out of 8, enough Channing.
Don't promise me Channing, but not give me any Channing.
Oh, boo-hoo.
That's the theme of this episode. I give each movie a rating of how much Channing there was out of 10.
He gets his head blown off and he gets to keep the rest of his body, so there, you can have it.
Well, that's a friggin' spoiler, isn't it? Why would you say that before I've issued spoiler warnings? Jeez.
Spoiler warning.
People die in Tarantino movies.
And She's the Man.
Nah, Channing Tatum was amazing in 21 and 22 Jump Streets, I'll have you know.
Boring.
And he was great in Kingsman. I actually really like Channing Tatum. I think he's a good actor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's in Kingsman too. I was literally... Remember that time where QJ doesn't listen to anything I say?
You didn't say it was in Kingsman. You probably said Kingsman too, but I was focusing on the
I didn't say
one.
it was in Kingsman. He's in Kingsman too. I said Kingsman just because I couldn't bother to say it. Anyway, The Hateful Eight is a film that was fine, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
You know what? I'm sorry.
You and your Tarantino dumb brain.
I liked it a lot more than I liked Kill Bill because tonally it was consistent tonally, right? It was a good, well-told story that just felt like it all was happening in the same world. It wasn't just like suddenly something dumb happens. Yeah,
and did you get the? Go ahead.
the one thing I did really hate about this movie was that one time Tarantino decided to do some narration, and I was like, could you not have shown this in a more clever way than suddenly narrating out of nowhere in a way that doesn't fit the movie?
Other than that, did you get the idea that when this was originally written, it was a stage play?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't, but that makes sense.
And even if that makes sense, I get why that's out of place. But, Tarantino has to make a cameo in all his movies, even if it's just as voice. So.
Oh yeah, true. Where would he even cameo in that one?
Yeah, one of the people who got shot off the stagecoach with the cute Australian girl.
Yeah. I thought it was fine, but I struggled to connect with the story because I mentioned this vaguely earlier. When stuff does American history, especially during the Western Civil War era, I don't know if those are the same era, but around that time period, right?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that time period. I don't really care about that time period. I don't actually like a lot of the tropes. Like, Western tropes just annoy me. That's just a personal thing.
I love
that's a personal thing, not a filmmaking thing. I don't think it was a bad film. I think The Hateful Eight was a pretty good film. I think it was a bit predictable in its structure and story, but I just don't connect well with the kind of Western, slow talking standoffs and that kind of thing. I thought it did a good job of building tension.
See, I didn't think there were
Samuel
a lot
Jackson's
of
character.
slow talks and standoffs. I felt like there was a lot of talking, which a lot of people didn't like about this film. They're like, "That's not enough action. It's too much talking." And I'm like, "Well, that's because you're dumb and you just want action." There were the conversation they had in the stagecoach on the way up to Minnie's haberdashery, where they were just talking about Samuel L. Jackson's character's background and why some white people hate him and others don't, and it builds a lot of history to the movie. And to the characters, and the story he told about the general guy's son, and whether or not that was a lie or a fabrication. Those are the same thing.
I don't know if that was a lie or also a lie.
Or a bigger lie. I felt like it was an awesome story, and it was a really cool mystery. And then it got all like bloody and gory at the end, which Tarantino's just got to put in there, and it was fine. It was absolutely terrifying to see Daisy get hung and be shaking and her feet twitching, and it was disturbing, and I loved that movie. Oh man.
Yeah. I thought it was good, but again,
all of Tarantino's best films, even though a lot of fans.
Oh man, I was looking at reviews and people disagree, but that's fine.
You're getting all choppy. I can't understand what you're saying.
Oh, okay. I was just saying I was looking at reviews and people don't seem to agree with that, but I don't know. Because basically, my main problem is because of the Western style and all of the history that I don't really know anything about, and I'm sitting there like, whatever. So all of that character depth is kind of lost on me because they're talking about you northern bastards being all racist, and that's just something that, I don't know, my brain just doesn't comprehend as well, because I'm like, I don't know. The Civil War just isn't something I know enough about to be able to get the context. No, I can...
Too bad.
Maybe it's because I'm so not racist that I can't understand it.
It's terrible. I got the gist of the last minute of what you just said, but you just talked like a robot for a second because my internet stopped.
Okay.
You're back to normal now.
Goddamn internet. I mean, it's just because having the Civil War, I don't know enough about, and I don't know enough about what each side stood for, and they kept referring to specific battles and events, and I'm like, are those real things that happened, or are they fictional things that happened? I can't tell, and I don't know. Its
relation to history was not that vital. It's more about, I don't know. Did you like Kurt Russell more in this movie than in Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
Oh, hell yeah, I liked it. Kurt Russell was great in this movie. He was just this paranoid idiot walking around don't touch my prisoner. Don't talk to my prisoner. Don't go near my prisoner. It was great. I loved it. But yeah, I just think it comes down to me not quite getting the context of the film, and I'm it's like if you don't like science fiction and you don't really get science fiction tropes, and yet sci-fi doesn't come easy to you, and you're just sitting there I don't know what's happening in this sci-fi movie. Even if a sci-fi film tells
a fantastic mystery story, you can't just get past that.
Oh, it's almost like when Captain America: The Winter Soldier tells an amazing mystery story, and you can't get past that. Comprende? Turning your points around on you.
Whatever.
Same deal. I just, because it's in that context and that setting, I'm just I don't care. I don't care about no Civil War. And I admit that's a personal flaw of mine. I just don't. I'm not saying it's a bad movie because of that. I'm just saying like I don't like it because I don't like it as much as I could have and I should have because it is a great film.
I love the style in which it was made though. I liked that there was so much talking and that they were all like cooped up in one room, like all trigger happy, wanted to kill each other.
Yeah.
It was cool. Everyone was a fantastic actor. And funny little tidbit, you know, when Daisy was playing that guitar and John was getting really mad at her. So that was an actual like really, really old like special guitar from like a museum, and it was like a couple hundred years old. And when John took it from her and was gonna smash it, they were supposed to switch it out with a prop, but they didn't. And so when he was about to swing it against the pole, and she was like, no, that was like her breaking character and being like, wait, no, we haven't switched it out yet. So he broke it, and then that museum like completely cut its ties with that like movie company. They're like, we're not lending you any of our stuff ever again because he just broke a really expensive relic. And
wow, that is a good little tidbit. I like that. That's but yeah, I think it was a good movie by its own merits. Like objectively, I just subjectively, and I know that's a me thing. You know, I'm not going to say that it was a bad on the point of the film.
That's fine.
I'm self-aware enough to be able to reflect on that. The final movie I watched was didn't have any Channing Tatum in it, so it was kind of the worst movie ever. 0 out of Channing, 0 Channings out of Channing. The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh my gosh! Why did you wait till the end of the episode to get me into this movie?
Because that's the order in which I watch them, QJ.
Okay,
that's how I do this,
episode.
chronologically.
We're not cutting this episode off. Okay. Wow, you did really good at like keeping quiet after I mentioned Shawshank Redemption several times this week when I was talking about Stephen King adaptations. Dang you! Wow.
You know how yesterday I was like, I was saying like, I'm restructuring the way, because I rank every single movie that I watch in a year, and so far this year, Hacksaw Ridge, Manchester by the Sea, and Lion have been the top 3. Shawshank Redemption was the first film to break that. I then retroactively realised that Forrest Gump was also better than Lion, so that happened. But Shawshank Redemption is now the 3rd best movie I've seen this year. Shawshank Redemption is friggin' amazing, great film, really enjoyed it, fantastic. Just kept me interested the whole, like, because it was slow, but everything that happened I was interested in. I was like...
Well, they told a really long story.
It was fantastic.
And I mean... 30 years in a 2-hour movie is still a lot to tell in a short amount of time.
Yeah, and I was super invested. Like, spoilers for the Shawshank Redemption, I suppose. Like, to the point where near the end, where it seemed like, maybe Red wasn't gonna go out and wasn't gonna find out what was buried under the thing. I'm just sitting there like, no, because I'm sitting there looking at the timestamp on the legally purchased DVD that I have. And I'm sitting there looking at the timestamp like, there's only 6 minutes left. You better go and look at the thing. But yeah, it's fantastic. Great performances. Morgan Freeman, top tier. Great voice. Loved it. Also, my bingo card has a Morgan Freeman movie on it. So I've now cleared that. Okay. Annoyingly, right? Okay, back to The Hateful Eight for a second. The bingo card also has a film over 3 hours long. The Hateful Eight, the cinema version, is over 3 hours long. The full release is not. It's only like 2 hours 47 minutes or something. Because I don't know. Tarantino cut 2 versions.
What?
And I couldn't find the theatrical version.
I saw it in theaters, and I've watched my legally purchased DVD, and I don't see any differences.
I don't know then. There is a long version, and it's listed just over 3 hours on IMDb, but I couldn't find the over 3 hour version.
Oh well, I guess you just have to find something else.
No, I've got something in line for that anyway, so that's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, the Shawshank Redemption was really good. It was a really good movie. You know what? The other day we were talking about, I think it was on one of your episodes, your most recent episode, we were talking about how when there's something you don't like, it's really easy to like talk about it for a long period of time. Like I can go on about the Emoji Movie for like 3 hours and talk about why it was garbage,
and sometimes
right?
you love something and for some reason you can't talk about it enough.
But I could not explain to you why the Shawshank Redemption was great, apart from it had great performances, it was well written, and it had a good... It was just good. It was just everything in it was just good. It was a great film. It's one of those movies
where you finish it and you're like, I just know that was amazing, and I can't really pinpoint why. And that's one of the magics of the Mike magics of when Stephen King is adapted by an amazing director. It's It's like he like writes his books perfectly, and then when you adapt them well, they become perfect on the screen.
Yeah.
And,
but like, look, it was like it made me smile a lot, like with in the happy moments, but it also made me cry. Like when Brooks gets out of prison and
my gosh,
he's
yeah.
like I was straight up, I was in tears.
Jake fly away.
Yeah. And then all of that build up, I'm like, I know what's about to happen. I know where this is going, and I'm already crying.
Yeah.
And it was sad. And then at the end, when Red ends up in the same room, and you're like, oh no, is he going to go the same way? And then he doesn't, and you're like, yes, yes. It was just really good. Oh, it's almost like they went to Shawshank and had a redemption.
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, it was a free and fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it.
Warden is my favorite villain of all time.
Yeah.
He's just a huge evil dick bag, and I hate his guts. And oh man, he's so like ugh, gives me chills. He's just so evil. And then the end when he opens the book and the pickaxe was in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's like ha.
Yeah, because I kind of knew that it was because of that scene where the warden has his Bible and it's kind of this tense thing of like, you're just sitting there like, where's he hidden that? And then you're like, oh, I bet it's in there. The only problem I had with this movie is because I'm so late to the party and watching it, I knew about the digging through behind the poster thing because it's like a cliche at this point. It's like a trope.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's kind of like I've seen it so many times. Like you know how so many things have parodied the Wizard of Oz that it's just who cares anymore. So many things I've seen the poster with the thing. So the moment he got the poster, I'm like, oh, that's from this. This is what started the poster with the hole behind it thing. Okay. Yeah. And I was like, damn it, I know, and that's not going to be a good surprise later on. But it was. If I hadn't already known that was coming, that's really
very well done.
Yeah, because you don't see any of his escape plans. You don't really see coming, and then you're like, oh, and you just. Everything comes together, and you're like...
Everything comes together at the end, just like Mother.
But it was a good movie.
I loved all the little human moments, like where he helps one of the overseers with his tax thing so that he can just get all his friends some beers, and they're like, I just think Andy did it to feel normal again. I'm like, I love that scene.
Yeah.
And when
that was just really cool.
Locks himself into the room to listen to Hank Williams, I think.
Yeah.
And then he like blasted opera over the yard. And he got in trouble for that, but he was just like, nope, I'm not letting you in.
Yeah, and it's really cool because like the whole time you think that he's guilty, and then you find out he's probably not, and you're like, oh damn. I think
you're
supposed brilliant.
to know from the very beginning that he's innocent.
I didn't know, to be honest. I thought that it could be either way because they left it ambiguous. Like you didn't really know. They showed you. They showed you him outside of the house with the gun, and they didn't show you anything until the court scene, where he's saying he didn't.
Because I thought it was, from my point of view, I guess I thought that he was innocent the whole time, so I thought you were supposed to know that, or maybe it was written in the book that way. Like maybe, I thought we were supposed to be watching this movie, going, "Oh, how sad! Like he's innocent and he's in prison for this long."
Yeah.
But I wonder if you have something there.
I didn't get any vibe. I was like, he could be either. I hope he's innocent, because he seems like someone who didn't do it, but he could have, you know, because you don't know that sort of thing about people. Like, you know, he could have done it, he could have not done it. I didn't know, but I still cared about him as a character. And then, so when I found out that he didn't do it, I'm like, oh damn! And it was a really good reveal, you know.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job at bringing in new characters without like overwhelming the cast. Like they had the kid brought in who like kept stealing stuff and then wanted to get his college education or his high school education, and then he talked about like a guy that he knew who like wasn't really even in the movie, it was just in his memory, and somehow they were able to make such strong connections between these characters that you weren't like, wait, who's that, who said this, who did this, and like sometimes movies just have 3 characters and I'm like, I can't remember who did what or who said the thing.
Yeah, it was really good. It's a fantastic movie. I get it, you know. I get why people say it's one of the best movies made ever, because it is. It's fantastic. It's brilliant.
Good.
Very much enjoyed it. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, Shawshank Redemption. The book,
but 0 on the Channing scale.
0 on the Channing scale. The novella is called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, which I think just rolls off the tongue. And that's
totally.
what I call it.
What a good title.
Yeah.
Stephen King has annoying title. Like, It is a super annoying title.
It really
when
is.
you're in conversation. It's so annoying. Like, it looks good on posters, but when you're talking about it, you're like, this is just annoying.
Even when you're typing it, you have to use all capital letters just to.
Yeah. Super dumb.
It only makes sense when the kids are like, "It's back. What's back? It's back." Like, they can't call it the monster, and they can't even really call it Pennywise because Pennywise is only just one monster that this shapeshifter takes.
Also, it never introduced itself as Pennywise to anyone but Georgie. Can we talk about it again real quick? And just that opening scene was fantastic. When he takes Georgie. That's not a spoiler, so I'm not going to spoil a warning that. Like, we know that happens from the trailers, but that's a really well done scene.
I was like
fantastic.
Not invested in the movie until I knew what was like how they were gonna attack Georgie.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if they do a jump scare here, then I'm out. I'm not gonna even pay attention. But he just like slowly grew sharp teeth and slowly bit his arm, and it wasn't a jump thing. It was like, I'm a monster and I'm gonna eat you. And it was slow enough that I could watch it, and I was like, well, that's really cool. But it wasn't a jump scare, and I was like, okay, I respect this beginning, and now I'm totally invested in the rest of the film. And I was very, very happy with how that was done.
That was a really well done scene. That was, you know what I was saying earlier about how like you can build something subtly and cleverly and then have it not be something goofy and dumb and that off-puts me? That scene was incredibly well done. It was like, oh, okay. Because it wasn't like, it was just, it happened. And you're just like, okay.
Bad things happening. And that's how Stephen King writes his horror.
Yeah.
And I feel like he is so much more than, people call him the master of horror, and I think he's so much more than that because he writes good stories, he writes amazing characters.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it is one of the only books that I've really cared about the characters when I read it, because he can give a character so much background and so much thought and so much like personableness, whatever.
Personality?
Like, well, yeah, but I say personality and you don't realize that I'm trying to understand, that I'm trying to get across that you like can put yourself in that character and like
okay, like relatability.
There you go. And yet I don't always like feel for that character. Like if they die or go through something bad, I'm not like, oh, my heart. It's just like, oh, okay, I get it. But it was very different, and maybe it's because they were children. And then it was portrayed on the screen by some of the best kid actors I've ever seen.
Oh hell yeah, those actors were good.
Oh yeah,
brilliant.
I really liked that Beverly wasn't just the token girl, even though she was like I'm the girl here, and because I'm only 11 years old, I can run around in my bra and everyone can stare at me, but I can pretend it's innocent because we're at the water. And so like they all treated her like the girl, but I really felt like she had like her own mind and her own plan for what was happening. And I love her character.
Anyway, we're at like super long episode period now. So as much as I would totally talk about that movie for more time, no. But yeah, that was an episode of Cat's Movie Monthly thing. We talked about some movies.
You really surprised me at the end with that Shawshank. I'm very happy.
Hell yeah! I know. I like keeping a surprise from you. Like when I watch movies that I know you're gonna love, I'm not gonna tell you that I've done it.
Just like the end of Mother and the end of Shawshank, where at the end everything comes together.
It all comes together at the end.
It all comes together at the end of Across the Pond. And
now get out of my house. I want to burn it down. Also, I love that at the end of The Shawshank Redemption, he refers to himself as a free man, and then it's like the credits come up and it's Morgan Freeman, and you're like, ha ha ha! I see what you did there. Was that deliberate? I hope it was. It's just good. I like that. I thought that was just funny. Anyway, bye.
Bye.
We're so bad at ending.